In this video, I'll talk about how you can increase your likelihood of getting a shortlisted for a potential role that you're applying for a future job, avoiding the mistakes that we traditionally make, and also better prepare yourself for an interview so that you can crush it once you are at the interview room facing the interviewers. If you also want to know about my interview secrets, which I use during the interview, in a future video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so that you get notified when my future videos are up on this channel. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Salman. I'm a tech product and innovation expert based out of Bangkok, and I'm currently in the middle of reinventing my life. In this channel, I talk about personal transformation, whether you're a university student or a young professional, and how you can extract your learning for a better future. As always, I'm going to put the timestamp in the description below, so feel free to look into whichever the parts you want to start first. With that, let's dive into it. Now, before I share how I simply making small tweaks and changes into my entire process of applying for potential jobs and eventually preparing for the interview, let's talk about some of the common mistakes that we all make which should be avoided in the first place. Mistake number one is that we only have one resume that we prepare, and that single resume is used for all applications that we submit for our application for that particular positions in different companies. The second mistake we make is that we also have this one cover letter that we copy paste by changing only the name of the company and the addresses and the interests and just share into all the companies. The third mistake we make is that we submit using online channels by emails or online applications like LinkedIn, or we just simply drop it to the mailbox in the place where you're already living in that particular area. The fourth mistake is that we leave it all up to luck to work out somehow miraculously for you, and then not doing much about it in terms of the entire orchestration for landing that shortlisted interview call. And last but not the least, even if you're lucky to get called for an interview, we don't prepare enough for that particular role, for that particular company, the way you can stand out from the rest of the audiences. Now, you might be thinking at this point that you basically are saying all the things that we are taught to do in our schools and our universities are wrong or mistakes that we should be avoiding. Then what exactly do we need to do? All you need to do is to make small changes, small tweaks into this entire process that can set you apart from all the other potential candidates and will increase your chances of getting not only shortlisted for a call, but probably will be able to nail it at the interview and land the dream job of yours. Let's find that out. Now let me walk you through exactly step by step as to how I do the exact same processes that I just mentioned, which had a lot of mistakes in it, and tweak it a little bit in every step of the way to really make it much different than what ordinarily everyone is trying to do. When I prepare a resume, the first thing first is that I don't prepare a resume, same resume for every company, because in the resume there are two components that are unique and dynamic in my opinion. When you're applying for a company with a resume that is fixed for all companies, then you're not customizing it for their particular tailoring need that they're looking for. When a company is having a position open, the recruiters have certain skill sets in their mind that they're looking for in that particular candidate. So when you're writing the resume, there are two parts, the summary and the details in specific experiences from your past. In the summary, if you're not highlighting those particular skill sets or if your experiences that are well relevant to that particular role that you're applying, then your summary will already fall flat and eventually will not cut through the initial screening process of the resumes that you'll be submitting. Second is that even if you have a great summary, but if your job experiences that you're highlighting are not indicating of any potential connection or a way of fulfilling the requirements of that particular role, you will again be doubted by the interviewers and may not get a points shortlisted already as you are getting a potential call. The second mistake we make is the same goes for the cover letter. The cover letters, we always send a copy-pasted version from all companies, only changing the name of the company and the addresses and the roles that we're interested to apply for. But what you should do is to spend quality time into crafting a beautiful cover letter, not just with great words and phrases, but really identifying what exactly is that company looking for, what exactly is the potential strategy of that company, and then how that strategy will be well reflected in your way of identifying the roles you need into helping succeeding into that company strategy. If you're not being able to well articulate this particular piece in that particular cover letter that you write for each unique companies, then you will be automatically identified as a person who is just randomly throwing darts into different directions without considering customizations and tailoring according to the company's role profile requirement. The third common mistake is that we always think that we simply need to go to all the websites, look into the company emails and the mail addresses and send them our application by putting our resume and our CV, signing it off. If it was that easy, then this would have been the most possible ways for people to get jobs at all times. Every single day, the number of people who are applying for a potential role are increasing every day because of the competition in the market and for the scarcity of good quality jobs. And if you're following the easier way, then just know that there are other people, more number of people who are also following the easy way and submitting their applications in the same process. And it is very difficult for the HR to really identify that unique gold and gem of a person from those pile of resumes and applications that are submitted. So if you're just simply using this traditional way of applying through online or by sending your resume and application through an email or by mail, you probably are going again into the mass crowd and losing your opportunity to getting identified for a potential interview call. If I were you, I would prepare for a particular role if I'm looking into apply or for a particular company where I'm interested to work way ahead in time. If I'm looking to get a job, let's say 6 months from now, or if I am graduating 6 months from now, I will start working my way, identify some people who are in that organization who I could know already. There are two things I can always do. When I was in my university, I always followed this simple step that I would try to go into networking events and identify a potential person in that company who I could strike a conversation and then eventually become oriented to understand and exchange some more conversations after that meeting. That will help me stay on top of that person's mind and maybe create an impression, so at the time when the company will be floating those potential job interview opportunities, I will be the one calling that person saying, hey, I'm applying to a company, would you refer me for this particular role while I'm also using this current system for enrolling myself for a potential interview. Always a company trusts their own employees more than anyone on the external side. Internal referrals are one of the biggest. Some of the big companies in the world like Google, Facebook, or all the Fortune 500 companies, they recruit more based on internal referral than those who randomly apply through different third-party sources. So always make sure you have your strategy planned way ahead of time instead of reacting when you see an opportunity and randomly trying to apply for it. If you want to know more about this particular strategy as to how it works out for me, watch this video where I talk about my N+1 strategy, which is something that's going to change how you plan for your own career and also for your future potential career opportunities as well. The next mistake, in my opinion, is solely depending on your luck. I do believe in luck and I do believe in karma, and that's probably one of the most important things for sure. But it's also not going to be enough in life to only depend on luck entirely. And that's why I always try to increase my odds of getting what I want to get instead of only depending on some miracle to happen. If you've done 3 things that I've already mentioned that can already increase your chances of getting shortlisted, I would do one more thing, or maybe many more, but this is one of the simple examples. If I'm really eyeing on an industry when I'm really studying or I'm in the university or even after my graduation, I always tried sort of growing this interest or this kind of always this need to understand more about that particular industry before even entering into the industry for a future opportunity for my career. So what I did is that I start writing and reading about it. I start reading first a lot about the industry and then I start writing about it. I start identifying what are some of the patterns and the trends in that industry that I can write in my own personal blog online. And then during even my application for my cover letter or for my interview, I actually can even mention that this is a piece that I have written about your industry based on my own analysis and insights that I've gathered by working using secondary data and also some insights based on my observation of how things have been working out in this industry for the last 3-5 years. That shows that you're very interested not just by the potential of the role, but also you're very invested into what exactly you can achieve if you're given this opportunity to really run for that particular role. I also feel that it needs to be in a more interactive manner as well. So I start following certain individuals in those companies where I want to apply for a future role. It can be the CXOs or some young leaders in this organization. So I follow them. I don't have to add them on their LinkedIn. So don't do that. Sometimes it's probably a bit invasive to randomly add people, although sometimes you can write a nice message to see if you can connect with them. Please do that. But even if it doesn't work, if these are people who are very high officials and don't really have the time to really connect you in their LinkedIn, make sure to follow them. And once you follow, you also can actually see their posts when they're sharing something, and you can actually write a comment on that particular post, showing your ability to make a quality intervention, make a quality engagement in a discussion that he or she is trying to make in front of the public. That's a great way of standing out in the crowd before even being identified for a potential role in your future dream job company. Now, let's assume that you had your luck and by following all the processes I mentioned, you got shortlisted for a potential job interview. Now, this is the great news because now it's your time to charm them by not only sharing what you've already done in life, but also show how much you're really invested for getting this opportunity than any other candidates who are also aiming for it. The first mistake that we do is that we don't prepare at all for the interview, right? And the way I'm going to break it down is to show you what are some of the things that you can do much more bespoke manner so that you can really show your prowess into understanding information and insights and how you actually can use it to your advantage for well articulating your purpose and how you connect for that particular role with any other candidates who are also bringing their own sense of urgency for getting selected for that particular role. So the first thing first, what I'll do is that I'll make sure I read about the company. I've seen so many people still to this day come to an interview without reading about the company. But when I talk about reading about the company, I don't talk about simply going to the company website and randomly saying some of the products or services the company is selling for the consumers. That's not more important. What is more important is to dig deeper into the company, to really identify what are some of the highs and the lows of the company, what are the good and the bad, and also maybe some of the unknowns of the company that a lot of people, unless they really invested into researching about the company, don't get to know about that. Try to find out other people in your network who actually probably have an idea about something about that company that you could use as your own advantage to having known that particular information. These things as research insights can go a long way in you showing your understanding of the company's history, and how the company is really using their history to continue to tell them their narrative, and how you can come and become part of their narrative with your set of strengths and with your own intellects to really contribute greatly for their future. The second thing that I feel that is also missing among people is that even if you are reading about the company, you're not reading much about the particular department or the division where you are applying for that role. You're only reading about the role, the job description, although some people don't even read the job description properly. And sometimes when you ask them what exactly they're going to do, they actually don't even have an answer properly, which is pretty shame. So make sure you read the JD properly before even going to the interview. But let's say you have the JD well memorized and you understood the scope of the JD, but you really need to understand about the department, about the division, or about the person who is going to be your potential boss. If I were you, I will research all the things that I could find both from primary and secondary data by either asking people or reading online about that particular department which is producing or servicing the consumers or the industry where they belong. Let me give an example. So if I'm going into an interview and I live in a country where there's a great coffee that is also my favorite, so I'm checking out this person's social media profile and I see the last few months this person has checked in into this particular coffee place with the particular type of coffee. Now, if I go to that interview knowing that this particular person has an affinity towards that particular coffee shop, in my conversation, I can bring up a situation where I may mention that the other day I was, researching for this particular job interview about your company sitting in my favorite coffee shop, which is that particular exact coffee shop where this gentleman or this lady goes to as well. then you will automatically hit a chord in that particular person, and the person will take great interest in you because you have the same choices or likings towards a particular thing that are common between the two of you. And that's just a simple example as to how simple research can bring in much interesting insights and data, and then you can capitalize on top of that to really stand out in an interview and have a great conversation with the people sitting in the interview board. And lastly, if you've already followed all the things I've mentioned to make sure that you have increased your likelihood of not only getting the shortlisted interview, but also preparing way better than DS, the one last thing you can do is to find out someone in that company or more people in that company who you can follow either in the social media, or even better, look for a potential coffee meeting to understand more about their company. If I were you, I would find out my friends of friends or anyone I would know in that company. Doesn't matter if that person is from the same department or not, just simply talking to someone from that company can give you so much insights about what their current strategies are, what are their current priorities, which department is currently lacking in which particular areas, and how they're desperately looking or potentially interested for some type of candidates which can be brought in by your addition into that particular role profile that you're applying for. I cannot tell you how much it made so many difference in my own life, which really pretty much set up every single situation for me to get the jobs wherever I applied for, instead of really even trying too hard to face someone at the interview and really impress them, because I already had a very good understanding about the company's priority, what exactly are some of the current challenges, and what kind of skill gap that they currently have that they're willing to bring in from the outside to really help them win and succeed in that particular task or in that particular role. So with that, I really hope that you found these insights very useful. They're just simply small tweaks that can simply go a long way for you to make a lasting impression in your interview and eventually land your dream jobs. So that's my very simple tips for you to make small tweaks in your own existing process of applying for a job and eventually preparing for the interviews. I'm sure if you follow all of this and add your own spices to it, you will be making a big difference into your future potential jobs. It's very understandable that the COVID has really affected all of us into how we are operating, whether those who are looking for jobs or who are looking to switch their current jobs. Following these steps can really significantly improve your chances of landing that job, at the same time also make yourself a very well-fitted person for those particular tasks that you'll be able to accomplish once you have joined those companies. If you like this video, please let me know in the comment section below, and what are the other types of insights that I can share from my own career that can be very beneficial for you and for your friends, so that you can share it on your social media. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider doing so. If you like this video, smash that like button. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.